The third set will be played on Whirlwind. Spawning in the top right-hand position, the third Protoss player in a row from SK Telecom T1. It's Rain in the red.
His opponent from EGTL, spawning as Blue Terran on the top left on Whirlwind. His name is Taeja.
Yep. Both players in pretty solid condition at the point at this moment.
Rain has been doing well in the round of 16 WCS. However, Taeja, like you said, he is off fresh from the Home Story Cup victory, and now all he has to do is bring those skills back to Pro League to defeat his opponent, Rain. However, when it comes to Pro League, Rain does lead against Taeja 5-0 in Starcraft2.
Like 5 games.
I'm not too sure if that's correct because it also said their last match was back in 2012. Okay, Susan.
I've seen the Ensu name in the Twitch streams.
She
before.
is a translator. She's one of the translators that translates the interviews in the Twitch chat. I'm pretty sure every single one of you guys know who that is.
Oh, cool.
Just looking at the ID.
No idea that she lived in Korea.
Well, she doesn't. She's in Korea for the summer.
Oh, okay. Alright, looks like we're going to be seeing a command center first opening from our Terran player here. On a map like Whirlwind, really big, so you can generally get away with builds like this. And Taeja, he's the kind of Terran player that's not afraid to go for the greedy builds. He will bring anything out of his arsenal of build orders in order to secure that victory.
And that's the first step towards taking out a giant in Pro League. Remember, if you're facing a stronger player, some players, they tend to get really nervous, and even if they're, even if they're known to go for the 15cc really greedy plays, they look, they get a little bit weaker facing these stronger players. Taeja does not show that in his match against Rain today, as he is so confident in his build order that it doesn't matter if his opponent is Bisu, Rain, Best, or Parting. He's gonna go for the 15cc, and he's gonna make it work.
Yeah, following it up with the double racks, one of the safer ways to follow up the CSC first. Very hard to punish this opening from the Protoss side nowadays. If you went for a refinery and a faster factory, it could be different. We do see Rain, though, going for a pretty fast expand of his own, just off of 1 gas, not 2.
So also nice build by Rain. This is a little bit more of a standard on Whirlwind. You don't want to delay your expansion too much, but you also want to make sure that you get a fast expansion on this particular map against your opponent, since everyone's known to go for a really fast expand on a 4-player map that is really large.
Indeed. Both players are going to end up scouting their opponents most likely last here. And the Mothership Core is already out now for Rain. Going to easily be able to deflect anything away from the natural ramp, but that's going to pretty much confirm for Taeja that, alright, my opponent, he's definitely getting an expansion. Otherwise, this Mothership Core would certainly not be here.
And Taeja will be really satisfied with the fact that he knows his opponent went for the Nexus, because all he has to worry about at this point is a possible proxy Stargate from his opponent. He went for the 15cc. His opponent cannot punish it at all. Him taking an expansion behind this means that Rain, he either took a really greedy expansion or his expansion is much later than Taeja's 15cc. He is also getting a third command center behind this, so he wants to gain a lot of economic advantage early on in the game. Just power it out with a tons of units streaming out with powerful macro and overpower his opponent.
There is Snoot. I guess they wanted to show him moving seats on the camera there. The SCV, I don't think it spots the expansion, but you can pretty much confirm what's going on at this point. If Taeja's not 100% sure, he can throw down a scan just to confirm that base there. And also, Taeja playing a little bit blind, a little bit greedy. He is getting a fast third command center as well, but really just playing to the metagame nowadays, where you can generally get away with the fast third command center if your opponent goes for a fast nexus of his own.
And even with the metagame, getting a fast third command center is a little bit of a norm against player like Rain, who doesn't go for a cheese, who doesn't go for early pressure against the Terran players. Why not go for the third command center? You know Rain's going to get tons of Colossus out later in the game. You know he's going to have a strong army, and it's powerful. The best thing going for Rain these days is his defense against multiple Terran drops and then going for one strong push when Terran player doesn't have enough army. That's the reason why Taeja can be so greedy early on in the game and not be punished from his opponent Rain.
I completely agree. Rain, he is known for his solid standard playstyle, rarely goes for the all-ins, and we do have a scan going down from Taeja as well, going to spot the Forge, getting that +1 armor. We have a Robotics Bay on the way here. Nice snipe on the Observer as well. Taeja always an ace when it comes to picking off those Observers there. He is getting double Engineering Bay behind this, so his upgrades are going to be in great shape throughout the progression of the game. Now going for the Factory as well behind this, getting his stem about halfway done. And it looks like these guys both are just going for a very overall solid macro game. Look at this. The Marines in position to potentially snipe a second Observer if they get that, or at least can zone it out. It's going to be great for Taeja. Going to keep Rain guessing.
Well, he already zoned it out right now as the Observer is slowly moving away from the Marines over there. And Taeja doing a fantastic job against the Observers. He does not want to show his opponent that he took an early third command center against a single Observer, but he does scout it anyways with the command center landing at the third position.
Yep, Taeja not afraid to show the third command center at this point anymore. And he is getting the +1 attack and armor upgrades now. And look at this. Instantly, we do see Rain put down a pretty fast third expansion. Look at the timing, 9 minutes. A little bit early when it comes to PvT here, but he's going to make it work.
Yes.
And it's just, like you mentioned, both of these players, they like playing their macro games, and we're most likely going to be in for a treat of maxed out armies and fighting for positions, and it's going to come down to who has better control, who can multitask better, and who can reign supreme in the late game.
Yeah, well, I would like to see Rain actually adding in a Warp Prism and trying to harass his opponent a little bit, play a little bit out of the style, because Rain's style has been figured out. Yes, it's still hard to win against his style, but it allows players like Taeja and Flash to practice against his style a lot in the practice house, and once they come out in Pro League matches, they exactly know what Rain is going to do throughout the whole game.
Let's not forget, though, the hallmark of a solid player is that even if you know what they're doing, it can still be sometimes hard to stop their overall strategy. That's
the reason why Rain is on a 10-game winning streak in PvT in Pro League.
All right. Both players continuing to sit back, play overall decently passive. You know, they did go for the greedy build, so that's what you're going to expect in this scenario. Armory finishing as well now for Taeja. He's going to start getting the +2/2. Income, economy, army supplies, everything looking pretty similar here. The Marine does manage to spot the third base as well. Scans 2 Colossus as well, so, you know, Rain, he is one of the players that does go for the heavy Colossus style. Taeja will certainly be able to account for that. May even, and look at that, he is adding on a second starport as well, so that's something to be expected here. Going for the 2/2 now as well. The Observer, not going to get spotted there.
Not going to get spotted, but also Taeja just sending out one Marine to make sure that the units are not in position such that if he presses forward and gets force fielded out, his opponent can go for one strong counter attack and win the game right away.
All right, looks like Rain adding on a few additional gateways here. Getting charged now, not going for the Templar tech just yet. And we do see Taeja adding in some Hellbats into the composition, getting a few Vikings out, going for the +1 mech armor as well. That poor Marine Scout getting picked off very quickly there by those Colossi. And, ooh, Taeja going to go for a Doom Drop here. That's 4 Medivacs. The Observer does not spot it as well. And there's not a lot of spotting units here to deal with these Medivacs. So it's going to really come down to what is going to happen here. This Observer going to spot a few units here that may tip off Rain. And this Observer is certainly going to tip off Rain as well. Look at that, already sending the Colossus and some Stalkers back. This drop will not accomplish too much and is easily thwarted and pushed back.
Yeah, and this is something that Taeja really wanted to do because he's allowing Rain to just macro up heavily behind this. And look at this, a fake pullout into the drop into the main base.
And the Zalots here, a few more being warped in. They're getting picked off quite easily. There's no AoE. No, wait, the Colossus come. And the Mothership Cannon goes down as well. One of the Medivacs gets picked off as well. A second one very close to getting picked off. And overall, you know, this harassment and attacks from Taeja, I think they would work against lesser players, but against a player like Rain, he's arguably got the best drop defense in the business here, and you simply can't do these kind of tactics against him.
The problem is, it's so frustrating for a Terran player to be in this particular position. They want to go for the drop, they want to deal some harassment against their opponent and catch some units out of position, such that the Protoss player does not get high Colossus count out, high Templar count out, count out against the Terran player. However, because Rain has such phenomenal observer positioning and defense, he cannot accomplish any drops against his opponents.
Exactly. I mean, there's just nothing that Taeja can really do in this scenario. I think that he really needs to just resort to sitting back, getting out the perfect composition, being aggressive, taking a lot of expansions, trying to see if he can, add in any additional units into his army mix that would help him out here. We don't have any ghosts out in the field, I believe, yet. We have the Mobius Reactor on the way, though, giving those ghosts that extra energy here. Taeja's still pretty far ahead in supply here. And, oh, these units over here getting killed off almost instantly by the Colossi.
Those were targeted for the Templars, and they were just sucked in to the main army as they try to go for the High Templars, but no, Rain's Templars were out of position.
Nice snipe there on one of the observers, but there's still 2 observers on the map here for Rain. This additional one may get picked off here. I think Taeja doesn't realize that. That's actually in a pretty solid position. Going to be hard to see that unit. And, I mean, if you can't scare the Protoss player, well, hold on. This drop could actually end up doing some damage here. There are 2 cannons here, and we're seeing Taeja move back. Now it looks like Rain wants to move across the map here. Gonna actually move back now, try to defend this expansion over here. Instead, he needs to defend this base here. He should get his units over there in time, but overall, Taeja's starting to do a tiny bit of damage.
And this is just finding the gap in Rain's plane, just finding the hole to go for a drop. It's very nice attempt by Taeja, but he does lose a medevac while trying to pull out. He is getting an extra command center at the 12 o'clock position. Not too sure if that's safe, because he is expanding towards his opponent, and with Rain being really solid defense in that particular position, he can go for the 12 o'clock and take it out easily if Taeja is slightly out of position.
I also question that expansion location. Taeja getting 2 additional command centers behind this as well. A Templar being traded for a Ghost there between the players. Supply-wise, it looks like Rain's actually maxed out here. Taeja up to 185 supplies. He needs that extra 15 supply in his army desperately here. It's getting tense. If Rain goes for an attack, I don't know if Taeja actually has enough units to defend here. And he's got an okay amount of Ghosts here, but he needs to deal with the Templar, or he simply won't be able to do anything against this army composition.
Yeah, well, Rain also needs to be careful on where he picks a fight. If he tries to go into the 12 o'clock position, this might be a unlikely scenario, but it might happen. Colossus are put out of position where the Vikings in that little ridge over there starts picking out the Colossus one by one, and because of the small chokes, the Templars cannot push up to a point where Taeja just melts the ground army, so it's better for Rain to find a different spot where the Vikings cannot eat away on the Colossus so easily. And that's the reason why he's just completely moving it around in the map, trying to make sure that he can find the right position while harassing his opponent's main army a little bit more.
Alright, a few of these units getting picked off on both sides here. Just minor skirmishes, no real victor there. Alright, Rain, though, has a few less Templar, though. He can easily warp in more, and he's adding on more gateways here. Keeping good defense in his main base as well against potential drops. The thing is, when the Ghost Cloak completes, that's going to change things. And looks like we have a bit of a pause here, guys. But so far, overall, in the game, it's been pretty even overall. No clear advantage for either player. They've just been sitting back, macroing, trading a few units here and there. Taeja trying to do some drops, but not really accomplishing too much with those drops, and just sitting back, kind of building a lot of additional expansions. There we go. We are back online here, and it looks like there have been no major engagements since the little glitch there.
Yeah, +3/+2 finish for the Protoss player, as our Terran player, Taeja, has +3/+3 finished. And he's getting slightly into position. Oh, he also needs to be careful because there's one High Templar over there, but snipes him right away before the storm goes down.
Taeja could potentially move into position here. The Colossus, though, that's going to be the main thing to deal with here. The Vikings, if they can get into that ridge in between the 2 bases. Storm goes down, hits a good amount of units actually there, doing a lot of damage to those ghosts there, but not killing off enough units here. There are only a few Templar actually left in this army here. If Taeja can pick them off here.
Nice EMPs on all of the High Templars. There is a feedback, but that also means that there is not going to be many storms left for our Protoss player, Rain.
This may be the time for Taeja to move in here without the threat of the storms. Well, never mind. There are 3 additional Templars being added in here. Now Rain has the storms in his army. Very smart scanning there. And the Ghosts moving forward here, but the cannons, they can detect units here, but the EMPs go down on the Ghosts as well. Taeja moving forward with this attack, and he does have a lot of units here. The charge lot's moving forward. Supplies right now looking pretty solid overall for the Protoss player, but he's losing almost all of his Colossus here. The Ghosts, though, have been picked off, and Rain getting the better end of the stick there. Taeja, it looked like a really good engagement for him, but as time went on, the reinforcements certainly went against him.
Yeah, and that's the power of the Protoss player. If he can make sure the Colossus does not get taken out too quickly in the battle, those Colossus can eat away on all of the Marines, Ghosts, and Marauders before they just fall into and shatter. So now Taeja, he wants to deal some economic damage against his opponent by going for a drop inside the main base, but this also means that he's going to have less units with his main army if Rain decides to push out with his main army in the middle of the map.
Excellent storm going on there. Nice pickup from Taeja, though. Going to actually save the medevacs, bring a few units back. The problem is, though, this expansion over here, the planetary, even with repair, I'm not sure if it can be saved here. The Ghosts are going to cloak here. There's no Templar to be seen in this army mix. And the planetary getting very low on health. It is going to get taken out. Taeja, unfortunately, does not repair that base as well, and things are starting to look pretty grim for the Terran player. Rain pressing forward here. He has a nice supply advantage, and he's going to just continue to pick off more and more units.
And this is what I was so worried about earlier in the game when Taeja was taking the 12 o'clock expansion. If Rain just wins one engagement, all he has to do is push towards the 12, take it out, go for the recall, or just pull his units back to the fort base and defend over there. That's all he has to do. Taeja should have taken this base over here instead of the 12 o'clock, but now because he decided to go for the 12 o'clock, he is going to pay the price.
Both players' banks have been essentially depleted as well at this point here. Neither of them have over 2,000 resources anymore, as they did a few minutes ago. It's just coming from the constant army trading. We're seeing the shield upgrades really starting to be in research and in effect here for our Protoss players. Already got +2 shields, about to get the +3rd on way as well here. We do have +2 ship attack on the way. There's only one Colossus in this army there. Excellent storm hits the bulk of that army. Taeja is now on his last feet here, as being just constantly forced back here. But nice job. Taeja's still barely holding on with just a few units that he has here, but I think these additional reinforcements are going to seal the deal for SK Telecom T1 player. The Zealot in the main mineral line as well going to get picked off here, but now that's just not enough units to deal with this Protoss Armada.
Yeah, even with the Observer being in the army, those Cloak Ghosts there to be seen over there. And GG from Taeja as Rain takes set number 3 on Whirlwind. The score now is 2-1 with EGTO still taking a lead against SK Telecom T1, but SK Telecom T1 is finally on board with Rain taking out Taeja.
Taeja showing some solid play overall. The engagement, the initial engagement that he had near the 3rd base of his opponent was great. The problem was there wasn't enough Vikings to take out the last Colossus, and with the additional warp-ins as well, due to the nearby pylons that hurt out Taeja a lot in that actual overall army fight, if there were no reinforcement pylons and there was just an extra Viking or two in the mix, we could have potentially seen a very different game. That wasn't the case, of course, and Rain just took that advantage and eventually was able to grab the victory.